Hello, everyone, and welcome to
That's my opinion!
My name is BaconBearzz, and that's my opinion. Thank you for supporting our quest once again for world domination. Don't forget that you can listen to this podcast on any of your favorite audio platforms, and you can watch the video version on YouTube. Hello, if you are. Any interaction with this podcast, such as liking, sharing, commenting, or subscribing, helps support the channel. And also, if you would like to support the channel in a monetary way, you can now do that by the donation link in the description box down below, either on Spotify or YouTube. Today we are going to be, it's off the cuff today. Today is a diary, brain dump, personal update, parenting woes. I'm no script, just came down here to record and empty my brain so that I can get past some of this stuff and move forward. It's been a nightmare in this house since February, and I'd like to share it all with you. So, I don't keep a lot of stuff to myself, but it's been crazy. It has been crazy. With that being said, though, I have really been enjoying doing the true crime stuff. I didn't realize that I would find it as enjoyable as I do. And I really like the research of it. And I like learning about cases that I'm always been interested in. There's some cases that I just, for some reason, I still can't wrap my brain around. I do have some scripts coming up. I hope you guys are into that. With that being said, I do have this week's highlight comment, which comes from Colleen. I'm Colleen on Twitter. And she had said, and just like that, BaconBearzz is my favorite true crime podcaster, to which I replied and said unintentionally. And she said it was the best kind of accident. So I'm really happy that you guys are enjoying this. I'm enjoying putting it out. I knew in the beginning that this podcast was just going to be a journey of evolution. We're just going to go wherever it takes us. But I think really what it is I have a thirst for knowledge and to learn different things and also to communicate different things. And I just want to share that with you guys. Whether it's true crime or learning about people in general or learning about situations, I really just want to have a better understanding of things. And I hope you guys are down for the journey and just wherever this road takes us. Everybody's like, if you want to be popular, you got to find your niche. And my niche is knowledge. I just want to know stuff. And I hope you guys want to know stuff too. And then I'll sprinkle some episodes like this in there where we don't have any scripts. We're just going to go with it and see what happens. And that's just, what we're doing. But today, off the cuff, grab a drink, grab a snack. Let's chat. So it all started around February 19th, okay? This is where somebody's got a voodoo doll on this house. And I'm like, enough, okay? February 19th is my niece's birthday party, right? And a couple of days before that, I was like, you know what? I'm not feeling great. All of a sudden I got, allergies and sinus infection, which isn't uncommon when the weather starts to change. And especially where I'm at, once the weather starts to change, my sinuses just blow up. I get migraines. It's not great. But I'm like, maybe, whatever. But anyways, we're going to a child's birthday party, right? So I'm like, what do I do? Of course, I COVID test. And when I had woken up that morning, I told my husband right away, I'm like, I need to take a COVID test. And he was like, why? And I'm like, two things, because this will be my second time getting COVID. One, my eyes hurt so bad. When I woke up in the morning, I'm like, my eyes ached, which is the only other time I've ever felt that was when I had COVID the first time, last July. So that was my first giveaway. The other thing is I feel like chlorine is being shot through my nose holes. Have you ever jumped off a diving board and not held your nose? That's what it feels like. So I told him, I'm like, I think I have COVID, so I should test. I'm going to a little kid's birthday party. So I'm like, just to be safe, I should COVID test. And sure enough, I have COVID. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess we're not coming today, right? So we text my sister-in-law and we're like, hey, we're not coming. This house has COVID. And she's like, oh my God, that sucks, whatever. 30 minutes later, she texts us and she's like, hey, I don't know if you guys still want to come over. The baby, my niece, whose birthday it is, also has COVID. And I was like, well, what a turn of events. But I felt horrible. Like I was aches, chills, pains, and I'm like, I can't go anywhere. So I was home. Nobody else got it in the house. Everybody managed to dodge it somehow. And it wasn't like I quarantined. I can't quarantine because my husband has to go to work and I'm a stay-at-home mom. And by the time I had tested for COVID, I'm like, what's the point of putting a mask on? So I just tried to, wash my hands and Lysol my house, and, whoever's going to get it, get it. Everybody got it the first time, and it was bad for everybody. It was bad. I think my son and myself had gotten it the worst. So then, that takes up 5 or 6 days of your time, So then we're into early March, and we're doing okay. Also, don't mind this. If you're on YouTube, don't mind the scar on my forehead. I was trying on a jumpsuit and the zipper caught me and literally ripped my forehead open. But I digress. Anyways, so then we get into March, and I had drank a lot one night. And every time I drink and I get hungover, the one thing that I want is like a Dave single, And I'm like, I want a Dave single, #1 from Wendy's, and some fries and a Sprite. Like, that's the only thing that'll make me feel better. So I get it, and I'm fine. Everything's fine. And my daughter was like, I'll have some of your hamburger with you. And I'm like, okay. So she ate some of the hamburger, and everything's okay. And this is like March 12th, okay? Middle of the night, I wake up, eyes shoot open, and I'm like, something's not right. Something, when you wake up in like a panic, and you're like, oh shit. So I wake up, and I'm like, I think I'm going to be sick. Now it's like 1 a.m. And I'm like, I don't know. Something's not right here. So I'm tossing and turning. And about 5 a.m. I start throwing up. And I'm like, okay. So that's not great. I get food poisoning. It was like all of Sunday. And then Monday comes. Monday I felt fine. And then Tuesday comes. And my daughter gets it. And she starts puking. And I'm like, okay. All right. We got it. So then we go a couple of weeks. Not a couple of weeks. I mean, yeah. So I had like 5 days worth of, 3 or 4 days, right, of feeling like garbage. My daughter has 3 or 4 days of feeling like garbage, when you get food poisoning and then you don't want to eat or whatever. Maybe it was stomach flu. I don't know. My son goes to school. He comes home. I pick him up. I believe it was that following Tuesday. I pick him up from school. As he's walking out, his teacher is screaming my name, and she has a bowl held under his mouth. And she's like, he just threw up everywhere in the hallway. And I'm like, oh no. And he looks green, like just so green. So I'm like, well, let's go. So I bring him home, and she had just said to me in passing, she's like, hey, I just want to let you know, strep is running rampant through school. And I'm like, great. Now, mind you, I am horrifically scared of strep throat. Well, I'll just tell you the story because we got the time. So in my early 20s, I've only had strep once in my life that I know of. In my early 20s, I end up getting strep, and I have, fevers, and I go to Walgreens to go into the nurse practitioner area, whatever. And I wanted to get, tested for strep so that I could get an antibiotic and, take care of myself. So I go in and I sign in, and, I'm just waiting my turn. And even talking about it, I could feel myself getting very anxious and like lightheaded. I'm sitting and I'm texting my husband, and I'm just letting him know, I don't even know if we were married at the time, but I am texting him, and I'm like, hey, I really don't feel good. And I start getting like woozy and like lightheaded. And I turn to the woman, and she's staring at me. There's another woman in the waiting room. It's just me and her. And she's staring at me. And I just remember yelling, help. And that was like all I could get out. I was just like, help. And then that was it. I lost consciousness. And then when I woke up, I was like walking. And a woman, one of the nurses, was pulling me into a room. And I woke up, and I was freaking out, and I was crying, and I'm like, what is going on? And like, they were like, just calm down. The nurse, this nurse practitioner, She comes in, she gives me a brown paper bag to breathe into, and she's like, here, breathe into this. She's like, why are you crying? And I was like, where am I? Like, I have no, like, what is going on? And she's like, well, you're going to have to wait your turn. Here's a bag, breathe into this, calm yourself down. I'll be back. And this younger, like, nurse or pharmacist or whatever, she comes in. And she was really nice to me. And she's like, hey, I have to ask you, I didn't see a bracelet on you. Do you have epilepsy? And I'm like, no. And she's like, oh, okay, because I think you might have just had a seizure. And I'm like, should we call somebody? Like, what? And she's like, I don't know. I think you're okay. I don't think we have to call 911. And in this moment, like, I'm freaking out. I'm by myself. I don't know what just happened. I'm expecting medical professionals to make a decision of any kind. And the nurse practitioner comes in and I was asking her, I was like, what happened? And she's like, I don't know. And then she swabbed me for strep, which came back positive. And then they gave me my antibiotics and they let me leave. And I was like, and I went home and I had called my doctor. I was like, what should I do? And he's like, you should come in and see me. He's like, I'm going to refer you to a neurologist. He's like, so much time had passed at this point. He's like, I don't think you need to go to the hospital, so we're going to see what happened. And what it comes down to is they think that I might have had, if it was true that I had a seizure, I might have had a febrile seizure where your fever spikes too fast. So yeah. Anyways, now when anybody says strep throat, I need to sit down. So anyways, that's a side note, which I still have PTSD from. And it just makes me very, very anxious. Or anytime anybody gets a fever. Also, one of my sisters used to suffer from febrile seizures when she was a baby, like 1-2 years old. And so anytime my kids get fevers now, I'm always like, are you okay? So my son comes out of school and he had just puked everywhere, all over his locker, his clothes. So I take him home. He looks like death. He is green. His eyes are like black and blue. His little lips are he just looks like a little zombie. And so I open his mouth to see if he, has any of the white in his throat. And I'm like, I'm just taking you to urgent care. So I take him over to urgent care. They swab him. It comes back as negative. I get him home. I take him out of the car. He pukes in the driveway. And I'm like, okay, well, you're not going to school tomorrow, obviously. And then he's sick for 3 days, right? So he's out of school for 3 days. Then he's on spring break. So he's out of school for 2 weeks. Spring break, I think everybody did okay. I think we were doing all right. I don't know. It's all a blur. So we send my son back to school. He has some really great days. Everybody's doing all right. Minus some allergies. Easter comes. And we go to a friend's house for Easter brunch on Sunday. And we have brunch and everybody has a good time. And we're done by 11 and we come home and we're working out in the yard. And my son starts laying down on the deck. And we had just gotten the deck stained 2 days ago. And I'm like, hey, buddy, I don't want you breathing in any of these fumes. Go lay anywhere else. So he goes and he lays on the trampoline and he ends up taking a nap. And if you know my son is filled with energy, just filled. So we know that if he's laying down for an extended period of time, something is up. Something's wrong. So I go on the trampoline to check on him and he has a fever. And I'm like, now, mind you, too, when my son gets a fever, even if it's 99, which doesn't technically count as a fever, it just lays him on his ass. It takes him out. Whereas my daughter could get 100 point something and she's fine. But my son, if he gets the slightest elevated temp in his body, even if it doesn't register onto the thermometer, he's got aches, chills, lethargic, just hits him like a ton of bricks. So he takes a nap on the trampoline, and it was a beautiful day that day. So I got him a blanket, and I took a nap with him on the trampoline. It was so nice. It was so peaceful. And he didn't have school the next day because the school recognizes the Easter holiday. So they were off for Good Friday, and then they were off for that Monday. I bring him inside. He wakes up at about 5 o'clock. I bring him inside, and he just wants to lay in my bed. Doesn't want to eat, doesn't want to drink, doesn't want to do anything, which is not like him at all. And he's a huge eater as well. So like the fact that he didn't want to eat anything, also another telltale sign. So he goes to sleep. I don't even remember if I gave him any Tylenol, but he wakes up Monday morning and he's throwing up. So I was like, okay, like, whatever. He goes back into bed and for a little bit, and he's playing on his tablet, and then he gets up and he eats and everything's fine. Everything's fine. And I'm like, okay, no fever, no nausea. He's eating food. He's playing. He's doing everything and going outside. Tuesday he goes to school. Great. He has a great day. He's doing amazing. Comes home, normal. Wednesday he goes to school, has another great day, normal. Everybody's great. Thursday, 5 a.m., I wake up to blood-curdling screams in my house. And I'm like, what is happening? And my son, so our rule in our house is you always have to start off in your own bed. And somehow these little squirrels manage to like get into our bed. They just like run in there in the middle of the night. And half of the time you don't even know that they do it. But anyway, so he was in our bed and he woke up and he's screaming. Now, if you guys are new here, my son is autistic and he's considered nonverbal. So he has limited language. He is screaming and he's like, bowl, bowl, which means I want to throw up. So I was like, okay. So I get out of the bed. And I take him over to the toilet, and he's just standing over the toilet, and he's like, and I'm like, what is happening? And anytime he wants something, he'll put your hands on it. So he's putting my hands on the toilet, and he's like, please, please. And I'm like, buddy, I can't help you throw up. And I'm like, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put you in the bed. I'm going to give you your tablet. Obviously, you're not going to school. Like, something's a matter. So I got to figure it out. I'm like, let me wake up for a second and figure out what's going on. I can't call the doctor because it's 5:30 in the morning. Let me get my bearings. So I put him in the bed with the tablet and he's still like moaning and groaning. And I go and I grab something to eat real quick and I pour myself a cup of coffee and I try to just like collect myself. And he starts screaming again. And I'm like, the way he's screaming, I'm like, something's not right. And this took me about 45 minutes to figure out because my brain is processing much slower than it would be at 12 p.m., So I call my husband and I was like, hey, I think I need to take our son, to the hospital. And he's like, to the hospital? Now, I don't know how I feel about the ER, right? Like sometimes I'm like, you only go to the ER if it's serious. And then sometimes I'm like, we have insurance, So I'm like, I'm on the fence. My husband, unless you're bleeding directly from your face, nobody's going to the ER. Nobody. Like, he's like, something better be serious, So I call him and I'm like, hey, I think I have to take Moose to the ER. And he's like, to the ER? He's like, what's the matter with him? So I tell him the whole story. And he's like, are you sure you don't want to take him to urgent care? And I said, well, here's my issue with urgent care. He can't talk. They're going to have to run tests. I don't want to get to urgent care and then urgent care sends me to the ER anyways. And that's 2 hours wasted. I don't have it. And as I'm saying that, my son lets out this guttural scream. And my husband immediately was like, get him to the hospital now. And I'm like, on it. Like, that's where I'm going. So now I have to find anybody who's awake at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'm like, what? Because I have to have somebody watch my daughter. I can't take my daughter with me to the ER. I got to be able to focus on him. I know I'm going to have to hold him down because it just, So I make some phone calls. One of my neighbors happens to be awake. And I'm like, listen, I got to take my son to the ER. Is there any way that I can have you watch my daughter until I can find somebody to watch her? And she's like, I work from home. Don't even worry about it. I'll just work from your house. We'll be fine. Her husband also works from home. She's like, we will take care of it. Go to the hospital. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. You know, we have a really great neighbor system where we live. So I take him to the hospital. He's screaming the whole way there. He's screaming when we get into the hospital. And they take us right back. And these two, a doctor and a nurse comes in. And it's, I don't know why this sticks out of my brain. Both of the doctor and the nurse are men, but also just like 6'5". I'm like, what is happening in here? Like, they're just so tall. And they were the best bedside manner, just most gentle. Oh, so nice. So anyways, I'm holding my son and they're trying to do, you know, his blood pressure and do the little finger thing and trying to listen to his heartbeat and whatever. And I'm telling them everything that's happening and, you know, the fact that he wants to throw up and he's laying there. But now his pain is coming in waves. So he's okay. And then he's like, whoa, and he starts screaming and then he goes back down. And then it starts happening again. And the doctor said, you know, I have some real concerns with the pain coming in waves like that. He's like, we're going to do a blood panel on him. We're going to get him an ultrasound. And we're going to figure out what's going on. And I'm like, okay, that sounds great. So the other nurse comes in and he's like, you know, I'm going to have to put like a little like PICC line in his arm because not only do I have to draw quite a bit of blood, but he's like, we're going to have to keep it in just in case medications. And I'm like, okay, I don't want this to be a traumatic experience for my son. I don't want every time we walk into the hospital, he like freaks out, you know, and he sits with me in my lap and I'm holding him and the nurse goes off to the side and I'm like, it's okay, buddy. And I'm singing his favorite songs and I'm like, you can do this. We can do this. And he just loses his mind. And I'm like, just holding him as tight as I can. And I'm like, it's okay, buddy. We're here. It's me and you. We're here. We're going to do this. It's fine. You got this. Like, you're a brave guy, you know? And I made my worst mistake. And I look to my right, which is where the nurse is. And there's just blood everywhere. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And he goes, it's okay. It's not as bad as it looks. It's just he's moving around. So there's like blood squirting. And I just start bawling. Like I'm here by myself. My son can't tell me what's wrong. There's blood all over this nurse. And I'm like, ah, you know, so, and then they got this little thing in and he collects all the vials of blood and then they strap his arm to like this board so he can't bend it. He's just trying to get it off and he's screaming and he's screaming and he's screaming and it's 6:45 in the morning and other people are in the ER just like, you know, I could only assume that they're, you know, suffering and this is the sound that they're hearing. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, So the nurse comes in and he's like, hey, why don't we give him something to just make him comfortable and it'll be helpful for everybody. And I'm like, just whatever you got to do, like, just make him feel better. So they come in and they actually gave him some pain meds for the pain that he was having in his stomach. And he passes out. And I'm like, okay, great. Like, again, I don't want this to be a traumatic experience for my son. I don't want him to rip out the needle in his arm. You know, it's just there's so many things going on. You know, we have to figure out what is happening, you know, and it sucks because you struggle as a parent and you're like, I don't want to be doing any of these things. I don't want to be holding you down. I don't want to be giving you, you know, pain meds. I don't want to be doing any of these things, but also I have to get to the greater good, right? I have to make you better. How do I make you better? So it's quiet. This part might make me cry again. It was a really sweet moment. It's quiet and I'm just looking at my son like unconscious in a hospital bed. And I just lose it. It's dark, you know. I just lose my mind. I'm just like sobbing. And the doctor comes in and he's, you know, telling me that he's going to get an ultrasound for my son to figure out what's going on. You know, and he told me at that point they're looking at appendicitis. And I was like, okay. You know, that's kind of what we thought, right? Like we thought that that's what that was going to be. It had to be. And he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not okay. I'm not, you know, this is so hard. I was like, my son, I can't talk to my son. He can't tell me what's happening. I have to restrain him. Like, This is the worst. And my husband at this point is like, if you call me to be there, I will be there. You just tell me and I'll wait. And in our situation, usually it's like, all right, I can handle this until I can't. And then if I can't, I'll call my husband. But if I can, why call him? In hindsight, I should have called him because I needed another adult to listen to the doctors because I was just like so emotional. But anyways, I told the doctor, I was like, this is just so hard. And I was crying. And he started crying. He's like, now you're making me cry. And so he comes over and he gives me a hug and he just holds me for a second. And he's like, you're doing a good job. You're doing a really great job. And he's like, now I have to sit in here so that my coworkers don't ask me why I'm crying. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. I was like, I'm just trying, man. It's just hard because I can't talk to my son. And he's like, it's, he's like, but, he is talking to you and you're listening, which is why you're here. He's like, we're going to figure this out. We're going to get you out of here. And I'm like, okay. So, he gave me another hug and, at that moment it was what I need. I just needed some comfort. And the ultrasound tech comes in and she was wonderful. She was so gentle. And my son slept through the whole thing. He was so tired and the pain meds had helped him out. And, so he had slept through the whole thing. They did his ultrasound and she's quiet. And I'm like, and then she starts asking me questions and she's like, so you from around here? And I'm like, I know that she can't tell me if she sees anything, right? She starts taking a bunch of pictures. She starts making a bunch of notes. And I'm like, shit. I'm preparing myself. But they keep asking me if he ate. And I'm like, that means he's going to have surgery. Like, I just know it. So I have to, mentally prepare myself for that. So she leaves, and we're in there for a little bit. And the doctor comes back in and he goes, well, I got good news and I got bad news. And I was like, oh, okay. And he goes, the good news is I don't think it's appendicitis. And I was like, okay. And he goes, the bad news is it's called, I'll have to write it down for you guys in the description. But he goes, it's called mesenteric adenitis, I think. And he said, it is something that makes the lymph nodes swell and it mimics appendicitis. He's like, so all of your son's symptoms are real. This is all real. This is all really happening for him. But I don't think we have to remove his appendix. And I'm like, how do you even get that? Like, what? And he said, sometimes it will happen in little kids when they get something like the stomach flu, which is what he had Sunday and Monday. So he's like, I don't know why your son would have something Sunday, Monday, be fine Tuesday, Wednesday, and you see me now. He's like, but we can see that the lymph nodes are, swollen on the ultrasound, and it is very painful. And I'm like, great. He said the other thing is sometimes people come in to the hospital too early for appendicitis. He said, so they'll get the pain, but the numbers don't match. He goes, and then we see them in 3 days and they have to get their appendixes out. He goes, but I can't just be, stealing appendixes out here, appendi. What's the plural for appendix? But he's like, I can't just be taking out appendixes. So he's like, we have to wait. So he's like, what I think is happening is he has the mesenteric adenitis, which is piggybacking off the stomach flu that he had Sunday and Monday. What I don't want to happen is you come in too early and he actually has appendicitis and has to get it removed. He's like, so he now needs to be monitored very closely for 72 hours. Fever, throwing up, diarrhea, whatever. Anything looks different, you bring him right back to the emergency room. So I'm like, all right. So he's not going to school tomorrow, or, we'll see you Monday. I called the school. I let him know. And actually his teacher, she was texting me the whole time and she's like, is everything okay? And I had told her, I was like, we're at the ER. I haven't even called the front desk yet. And they were like, we got it. Don't worry about it. Like, his teacher and their group, his team is so great at the school. And they were like, don't even worry about it. We go home, and on the way home, he was going to be drowsy from the pain meds. But I was like, how can he be in that much pain at 6 a.m. and then be okay? So I'm like, I'm waiting because I'm like, something has to come up, right? So we get him home, and my neighbor's there, and she's got a meeting that she's got to be at. So it really worked out when we came home, and she left. And then my other neighbor came by, and she was asking me, she's like, is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I'm going to be gardening outside of my front lawn if your daughter wants to come over and garden with me so she can get out of the house and you can just focus on your son. And I'm like, that would be great. So she takes my daughter, and I'm trying to get my son to like eat a little bit, And in the meantime, I had called because the doctor at the ER had said, I want you to see your pediatrician within 24 hours. And I was like, okay. So I call them, I tell them what happened, and they're like, we're going to get the records from the hospital, and we'll call you back about an appointment, because they had an appointment that day, that Thursday. But I was like, I was just at the hospital. So, should I ask the doctor what he wants me to do? She's like, okay, I'll call you back. So I sit down to have lunch. It was the best part of my whole day. I had 2 basted eggs over some leftover Parmesan risotto that I made. And let me tell you, if you have never had eggs over risotto, girl, it is so good. Anyways, so I'm sitting there, and I get a phone call from his doctor. And she said, hey, so I talked to the doctor, and we looked at the reports, and we would actually like to see you like right now. And I'm like, okay, I'll get in the car and I'll be there right now. So I get my son in the car. We go to the doctor. And when we get in there, he's like, this is not the child that I thought I was going to see. He's like, the reports looked really bad. And I'm like, well, it was really bad at 5:30 this morning. And he's like, okay, he looks pretty good. He looks like he's doing okay. He's like, but I agree with the doctor. He's like, I think he has, this thing that's piggybacking off of the stomach flu. He's like, but you don't want to miss appendicitis. So watch him. He's like, I'm on call tonight. If you got to call me, you call me, whatever. And I'm like, okay. So I bring him home, and by 6 p.m., this boy is eating pizza, jumping on the trampoline, like nothing. Like not a thing had happened that whole day. And I'm like, the whole day I've been in tears. I've been like, it was a nightmare. It's a nightmare when you watch your children go through those things. It's a literal nightmare. And I'll tell you too, like, there's only been one other time that this has really happened to me, and I've been numb in that moment. And when we were in the hospital, I just felt like numb and empty. And then the next day is like when all the emotions hit me. Like, I just held my son and cried the whole day. And I'm like, bro, for everything that I've been put through today, could you act sick? If I'm looking over at you, could you just be like, oh, like anything? I don't know. Something. Where are we in the timeline? I don't even know where we are in the timeline now. Let me look at my calendar. So Easter, April 15th. So let's say we get a week of so the week of April 16th through the 22nd. Okay, right after this happens, I get slammed with a sinus infection. And I'm like, okay. All right, fine. 23rd through the 29th of April, my husband comes home, and he's like, man, I've been rubbing my eyes all day. My eyes are itchy. I feel like I got something in there. And he goes, look at this. And I look at him, and he's got some discharge. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. You got fucking pink eye. And my husband goes, I don't have pink eye. I've literally never had pink eye in my whole life. And I go, well, I've had pink eye multiple times. That's pink eye. It's pink eye. And he's like, it's not pink eye. And my brother-in-law was here at the time, and he's like, I don't think it's pink eye. He's like, maybe he just got debris in his eye at work. And I'm like, I'm telling you, it's pink eye. And me and my brother-in-law, because my husband was adamant about it not being pink eye. And me and my brother-in-law are like, all right, well, we're going to find out in the next 6 hours. And my brother-in-law is like, I really don't think it's pink eye. And I was like, I'm telling you, it's pink eye. And sure enough, the next morning he wakes up and his eye is crusted shut. And if you ever had pink eye, you know it is such a distinct, not only look, like pink look, the goo is distinct, right? Or maybe it was the 16th through the 22nd that he got pink eye, because the 23rd through the 29th of April, my daughter gets pink eye. She gets pink eye. I still have a sinus infection. She is not a good eyedropper patient. Kicking, screaming, eyes shut as closed as possible. Not interested in the eye drops. And I'm like, we got to do it. We got to get you the eye drops, right? So we get her the eye drops. We do the thing. My son starts last week, May 1st. He gets sent home from school at 10:30 a.m. And they said, he's real lethargic. He feels warm. He's got a 99-something fever. The school doesn't count it as a fever unless it's 100.4. And she's like, and I had told them, I'm like, listen, if it's a low grade, it'll knock my son on his ass. Like, just send him home. So I bring him home Monday night. Now, mind you, starting Sunday, the 30th. Okay, the 30th of April, he's up at 1 a.m. This is not uncommon for my son. Every once in a while, he'll string a couple days together where he's up from like 1 to 5 in the middle of the night. Why? I don't know. Because his melatonin is off, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, that Sunday to Monday, he was up. Then he goes to school. He was kind of whiny in the morning. He didn't eat his breakfast. I should have known. I didn't. I sent him to school. He ends up popping a little fever. They send him home. That night, he's up at 1 o'clock again, gets a fever. I give him, whatever, either ibuprofen or Tylenol, whichever one, at 1 o'clock in the morning. Tuesday, I let him sleep in. He wakes up. He's got a fever. And Tuesday, after getting rid of my daughter's pink eye, okay, she's like 3 days off the drops. Nothing. Tuesday, she wakes up, raging pink eye, both eyes. Both. Crusted shut. I'm sobbing at this point. I just wake up. I get her all settled. I do her eye drops. My son is laying in the bed. Nobody wants to eat breakfast. They're just on their tablets. And I am in the kitchen sobbing on the phone to my husband into my coffee. I can't take... Still with a sinus infection. Still with a raging sinus infection. I can't take anymore. I am so tired. I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. So Tuesday, my son lays in bed the whole day. My daughter is suffering with pink eye. We go to bed. They're up at 1 a.m. again. My son has a fever. Wednesday, we get up. Everybody's sort of okay. My son is up. He's eating. He's playing a little bit. He's not at his full potential, right? My daughter, I'm still giving her her drops. At this point, she's gotten comfortable with it. She's taking it like a champ, which is great because you really got to get the drops in there to clean everything out. We're doing it. I take him for a walk. We go outside, get some fresh air. I give him a bath. Wednesday night, he wakes up 2:30 in the morning, fever. I'm like, why? How? Okay, you're not going to school on Thursday then. Thursday, he wakes up. I call the doctor for a telehealth appointment. They get me on the telehealth. I take a closer look at my son's face. Pink eye. It's just fucking pink eye everywhere. So I told her, I said, she said, if you have a fever that lasts for 5 days, it's a problem. You need to bring him in. We got to test him for strep or anything else. She said, if the fever goes away, that's fine. She's like, I'll send you an antibiotic for the pink eye. Cool. Friday, he wakes up full blown pink eye. Oh, also Thursday, he woke up at 2 a.m. as well. To 5, by the way. I'm just letting you know that every day since last Sunday, I have been awake between the hours of 1 and 5. And not like just waking up, like we're up for good. And then we fall asleep at 5 o'clock and get up at 8. I don't know why. Friday, raging pink eye. So okay, let's back up a little bit. Thursday, my son's school has an open house. Okay. Let me sprinkle some goodness in here a little bit. It's been like such a downer of a story. Let me sprinkle some goodness in here. So I go to open house for my son, and I told my husband, I'm like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of this house. I got to do anything else. So I texted my 2 other girlfriends who also would have open house that night because their kids go to that school. And I'm like, listen, you guys want to go grab something to eat when we're done with this? And they were like, yes, we would love to. And I'm like, thank you, Lord. I go to open house and I get an opportunity to talk to his teacher and his social emotional teacher and his speech therapist and his occupational therapist. And they were just telling me that he is making so much progress and he's doing so good in school. And I'm like, yes, although it sucks. He's been out of school for like ever, I'm afraid I'm going to get a letter from the school. It's like, why is your kid home so much? And trust me, I would rather have him at school doing anything constructive, It was just really nice to sit there and talk with them. And they were telling me about the progress he's making and just so happy, so happy. So I left and then I had dinner with my girlfriends, which was really nice. And I'm like, cool, a little bit of a reset. That's all I needed, right? I go home. My kids are up between 1 and 5. Friday, I wake up. My son's both eyes crusted shut and ragingly red. And I'm like, I'm being punished. I'm being punished. I don't know why. So I start crying again. So as my son has intermittent fevers during the week, I'm just like intermittently crying the whole time. Saturday we have a school event and we were supposed to have babysitters because we're on this bowling league once a month that we go to. It's like just a little bowling league. And so we had a babysitter for Saturday night for this thing at the school. And then we had a babysitter for bowling. And prematurely, I had called everybody and was like, don't come to my house. I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. Because I do that. I spiral and I go straight down and I take everybody with me. And I'm like, nothing is ever going to be good ever again, So I was like, don't come. Which, I mean, how are you going to ask people to come into your house? Saturday, everybody's kind of all right, Oh, no. Wait, back up. Thursday. That's right. Thursday. After I'd gone to the open house, after I had gone to dinner with my friends, I come home, I crawl into bed. Our kids are already in our bed because my husband because of the sleep schedule, my husband has to get up and go to work. So if the kids are going to be up between the hours of 1 and 5, I put them in our bed. He sleeps in our son's room because he needs to go to sleep. He has to go to work, right? Like, I can be dead the whole day the next day. I'm at home. He's legitimately working. So we got to make sure that he gets the most amount of sleep. So I crawl into bed. The kids are in the bed. I go to sleep. It's 10 o'clock, right? I go to sleep. 11:30, my daughter wakes up. She goes, Mom, I'm going to puke. And I'm like, what do you mean you're going to puke? And she's serious if she puts her hand over her mouth. And she's like, I'm going to puke up. And I'm like, okay. Sure enough, I get her a bucket and she pukes whole chunks of hot dogs. Sometimes my daughter eats really fast and then she just pukes up whole chunks of food. So I think that's what happened, completely unrelated. So me and my husband decide that Saturday night I'll go to the school event because that's kind of my thing anyways, and then he can go bowling and whatever. So I go to the school event. Everything's great. Everything's fine. I come home. The kids are up from 2 to 5. Now my daughter has fevers, and she has a very distinct cough, and she's having a hard time breathing. And I'm like, son of a bitch. Does she have croup? So I Google, I'm like, what does croup sound like? And I found a doctor on YouTube that like goes through the croup sounds. I think my daughter has croup. And I'm like, this is it. This is it. I can't take anymore. Sunday I wake up. I haven't slept in a week. I have a migraine now. And I'm tired. And my kids are sick. And I'm tired of my kids being sick. And that's the worst. Like I watched my daughter just lay in bed and like cry the other day. And I just started crying. And I'm like, honey, I'm so sorry. Like I wish it was me. So she has fevers, distinct cough, can't breathe. So I just Google, I'm like, when do I take my kid to the doctor for croup? They were like, croup is typically mild. They're like, if you hear these specific sounds, then you go to the doctor. So Sunday we're just laying around trying to get everybody better. My son's been on his pink eye drop since Thursday, and I feel like that's not getting any better, which I'll have to call the doctor tomorrow if that's the case. My daughter does okay. She's back and forth. She does okay during the day. Sometimes she doesn't. Back and forth, back and forth. Good news is last night we got our first full night of sleep. So there's that. But anyways, if I haven't been as active on social media as I usually am, it's been the most insane February, so March, April, May, 3 months since I've never, in our entire time of having children, I have never experienced anything like this. Like, yeah, they get sick and yeah, you kind of feel like they're always sick, but the fact that it's something that has just rotated its way through our house has been the most insane, physically exhausting, mentally exhausting, just mind fuck of an experience. And I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to do it. I want my kids to be healthy. I want my house to be back to normal and peaceful. And I don't know what I did or who I pissed off, but I'm very sorry. And I just, want to get back. And the reason that I'm putting out this podcast today is because I wanted to stay on my schedule. I'm doing so good. It's something that I'm, staying consistent with, and it's something I'm really happy with. But also I just wanted to put out this one because I didn't have it in me to sit down and read a script and like pretend that everything's okay. I mean, everything is okay. Things could always be way, way worse, but it's just been a lot, and I'm tired and I'm emotional, and my kids are tired and they're emotional. And I do have to say though, I was telling my husband, I am very proud of myself and my patience throughout this whole thing. Usually I don't have a lot of patience, and I have had quite a bit of patience. So that makes me feel good. If one good thing comes out of it, I haven't been a total bitch through this whole process. That is the personal update for me, because it's been something. It has been something. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing well. And I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves. And I hope that you're taking your vitamin C. And when the sun is out, you're getting outside to get the vitamin D, because you need it. It was really nice to get all dressed up and do my makeup the other night and go and have a fun night at a school event. And it was purposeful because the money was going to the school. And it was fun. And I think sometimes as parents, we need to remind ourselves that we need that reset to just like disappear from the house. Because for me, I'm like, I just want to go downstairs and podcast. And it's like, no, bitch, sometimes you got to leave your house. Leave. COVID really ruined me. I didn't know how I was going to be able to get through it. And when quarantine happened, I'm like, this is the greatest thing to ever happen to me. That's so terrible. But I'm like, part of me is like, I don't care if I ever see people ever again. This is great. But sometimes you gotta leave. You gotta dip your toes outside, Anyways, we got some really cool stuff coming up. I got some really great cases that I've been working on. Also, I'm gonna do also people I'm interested in instead of like to break it up from the true crime, because the true crime gets dark sometimes. And I feel like when you put out too many episodes, it's like, so I'm gonna break it up with like maybe some good stuff in there, or try to. I don't know, true crime just has such a hold on me. The whole process is so captivating. It boggles my mind. There's some cases, and even old cases, that I want to visit that have been, covered 1,000 times, but that's okay, because I'm going to do it my way, the Bacon Bears way. Thank you guys for being so supportive of the podcast and being here with me. I appreciate you always interacting and talking about stuff. And, it's always exciting to put out content and see, people like it and what they have to say about it. But with that being said, I am going to go relax in a quiet house. Oh, because my son made it to school today. He made it to school. Everybody seems to be on the mend. Knock on wood. Somewhere. Please. Everybody say a prayer. Go to church, light a candle. Please. Anyways, that's it for me. Thank you guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can continue on our quest for world domination. My name is BaconBearzz, and that's my opinion.